Hello and welcome to our webinar. I'm Hannes Hecher, CEO of Schiebel in Austria, and we are very much looking forward for our session today. Your guide, Anna, will take you to a tour through our production facility in Wiener Neustadt. She will discuss with several heads of departments our current and future projects we are working on. You will also be able to watch a live demonstration of our CAMCOPTER S-100 in our test facility in Austria. So this will be a very interesting program. Over to you, Anna.
Thank you, Hannes. My name is Anna Höffler. I am a program and bid manager at Schiebel and your personal guide for today. So today we as a company, and me as your host, would like to give you an exclusive insight into our company by having a walk around, showing you the latest news from our production facility here in Wiener Neustadt, and meeting people from different departments and talking with them about their projects. Also what we've done last year and what's in the works for this year. My colleague Christoph is also here today, and he's located just a few car minutes away at our flight test site in Großmittel. So let's switch over to Christoph.
Thank you, Anna. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I heard we have a lot of participants from all over the world. I welcome you here in our test site, Großmittel. My name is Christoph Greiler and I'm the flight manager. As you can see in the background, our crew is preparing the aircraft for the daily test plan. Because this site is also used for equipment testing, new software versions and acceptance flight, as you can hear in the background. On the other side, for example, we have our full motion platform, which simulates the automatic landing capabilities, as well the NATO compliant grid securing system. On the other side, you can see two data link options, which gives you a range for the smaller one of 50 kilometer and for the bigger antenna of 111 kilometer. A third option with 200 kilometer is available as well. Behind me, you see the container, which is mainly used for our operators to perform the flights, as well to host delegations and customers while showing the system. As the preparation time for our system is below 20 minutes from unloading of the truck until takeoff, we will see us in a few minutes. Let's go back to Anna.
We are really looking forward to it, Christoph, and hear you again in a few minutes. So meanwhile, I am inside our production facility to show you a new feature which we've just added recently. As you may know, the S-100 can be operated with two different types of rotary engines that were both developed in-house. Over here you can see the 40 kilowatt avgas engine, the S1 engine, and over here the 44 kilowatt heavy fuel engine, the S2 engine. The owner of the company, Hans-Georg Schiebel, invests significant resources in the continuous development of the S-100 system as a whole, and the engines are one example for that. So we continuously develop them further in terms of increasing maximum power output, increasing the time between overhaul, and reducing weight. And to optimize the testing of new components, we've just added a new feature to our very own engine test booth, our dyno, in the room behind me. But let me introduce you to Philipp Grob. Hi, Philipp. Hi. Who is the team leader of our engine department and can tell us more about that.
Yeah, in the last couple of months, the ambitious Power Plasma design team commissioned 2 new units to make engine testing more efficient and to test the engine to its full environmental specs. With the new device, we are able to simulate high altitudes from sea level up to a pressure which equals about 18,000 feet. The new device makes engine testing more efficient.
So what are the benefits then of this new equipment?
Yeah, so with that new equipment, we are able to run the engine on the engine test stand along with the high altitude device.
But you also mentioned a second unit. So can you tell us about that as well?
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
Oh.
So this is the second unit. It's an air chiller unit. With that device, we can reduce the intake air temperature from the engine down to minus 40 degrees. So combining this test stand and the other test stand, we can test the engine to its full environmental specs in the means of high altitude and testing at low temperatures.
Wow.
That makes the engine testing more efficient and less time intensive.
Thanks, Philip, for that interesting chat. So, Christoph, what about the progress in Großmittel?
Thank you, Anna. We are now inside of our container and the CAMCOPTER is currently being checked. In the background, you can see a typical setup of our S-100 control station. On this position, you will see the pilot operator. He is checking the safety area for takeoff and landing, and he can also control manually in case you need this. At this position, we have our pilot in command. He is entering all the parameters for the pre-programmed flight path, and he checks as well all relevant data and communicate with the airport tower nearby. On this position, we have the payload operator for the day. As you may know, our aircraft is multi-payload capable. For example, we can combine EO/IR camera with a cargo box or underslung load in combination with a nose payload. But if you have further questions, please use the chat functions or the Q&A sessions. Let's go back to the payload of the day. We have today an MX-10. It's a EO/IR camera with impressive zoom and stability. Albert, when it's the planned scheduled takeoff?
Takeoff is in 10 minutes.
Okay, so takeoff is in 10 minutes. For the moment, let's move to Anna.
Welcome back to Wiener Neustadt. I am now in the office area of the facility and on my way to our head of supply chain, Johannes Kisslinger, to ask him how Schiebel dealt with the COVID challenges and also for some departmental news. Hi, Johannes.
Hi. I heard you come along. How can I help?
We are currently live with our webinar audience and they already heard a lot about the S-100 system. We just visited the engines department and Christoph showed us the flight test area in Großmittel. So could you please tell the audience how Schiebel and especially the supply chain is handling COVID challenges?
Sure. As a company, I think we came through the situation quite well. Early, we had excellent access to protective equipment and we were very fast in establishing a task force that was closely monitoring the situation and making decisions very fast. For example, we were the first company in the region to establish a COVID test center on site to make sure that our staff is safe and our organization is up and running. Also, our staff acted very responsibly. They followed all the rules. We so far didn't have any major clusters. And at the moment, we are looking at a vaccination rate of above 90%, which obviously is necessary for us since we have to travel and this activity has been ongoing again in the last few months. From a supply chain perspective, it was and still is a very challenging time. We can read in the newspapers every day. Supply chain disruptions and shortages are the new normal. This comes along with material cost increases, logistic cost increases, energy costs increasing at the moment. So far, we as Schiebel have been not hit very strongly by this. We entered this crisis in a very robust setup. We're working very close with our suppliers. They are very regional. This helps in this situation to be closer. But if one thing that we learned last year is that the resilience of the supply chain cannot be valued high enough. That's why we want to this year further focusing it and further improve it and actually also will further invest in it. Yeah.
And since last year, you also have some new developments in your department. Could you tell us more about them as well?
Sure. Since we moved into this building last year, we have now all the supply chain teams in one place. So we were working a lot on organizational efficiency improvements. We were also spending quite some time on digitalization of our workflows. For customers, for sure, relevant is that we have integrated a dedicated components maintenance team within the supply chain. All modules or components, be it mechanical or electrical, will be channeled through this team. We had a very strong increase last year of overhaul items. And the idea of this activity is that we will shorten the response time to our customers this year significantly. That's the plan.
Thanks, Johannes, for these interesting insights. So, Christoph, are we ready for takeoff?
Thanks, Anna. In fact, we are ready and just waiting for you. So let's go live when the EV is doing a full autonomous takeoff. Albert, please proceed.
Okay, Christoph. We're in system speed, waypoint 1 is selected. Wind is 0. You're cleared for auto-VTOL takeoff. Takeoff verified.
As you can see now, the aircraft is lifting off automatically and proceeding to waypoint 1. After waypoint 1, the aircraft is heading to waypoint 2.
Waypoint reached, waypoint 2 is selected.
You can see the next active waypoint, which is indicated by a blue circle. And you see as well the different colors of the waypoint, which means different functions. You have the possibility to change all the functions at any time. So, for example, if you open waypoint 3, you can change anytime the action, the altitude, the speed. Okay, and in the meantime, let's move to the live MX10 stream. Okay, so the aircraft flew its pre-programmed flight route and is coming back for a full autonomous landing.
Okay, Christoph. Waypoint 9, land mode. Position over helipad is okay. You're cleared to land. Touchdown, system speed, cleared for idle. Idle mode verified.
Okay, that was our short demonstration for the audience, and I wish you a good day, and let's go back to Anna.
Thank you, Christoph. During our last webinar, we talked a lot about the capabilities of the S-100 and deployments. An important topic we did not talk about is the training of our customers' crews. We have sold more than 400 AVs so far and have customers flying all over the world. And their crews of operators and maintenance technicians often get trained right here in our facility in Wiener Neustadt. So let's take the chance to talk to one of our experienced instructors, Matthias Musel. Hi.
Hi, everyone.
About the training at Schiebel. Could you please tell how a typical training at Schiebel looks like?
So typical training at the Schiebel facility is an 8-week training for operators and maintainers, where at the end, operators and maintainers are fully able to operate the system up to maintenance level 3 for the maintainers. As you know, with the facility expansion, we received 3 additional rooms, because despite the training and the upgrading numbers of students, where we are right now in one inside, where we have now the SimBox installed with a fully simulation running, where the students at the end get the practical training hands before they head out to Großmittel. And as you know, since 2020 with the COVID situation, we were still able to successfully write off around 200 students for operators and maintainers.
That's impressive. Schiebel also has facilities in Abu Dhabi, the United Emirates, Manassas, the United States, and Shoalhaven, Australia. And last year, our team from Schiebel Pacific also expanded their in-country training capabilities. We pre-recorded a quick chat with Andrew Watson, who is the general manager of our team in Down Under. And action.
Thank you, Anna. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Andrew Watson. I'm the General Manager of Schiebel Pacific. Schiebel Pacific, or SPL as the locals call us, is located on the south coast of New South Wales in Australia. We deliberately chose this location for our facility as it is co-located with our customer, the Royal Australian Navy. Now, I'd like to take the opportunity to give you a quick brief of what we're up to down under. Firstly, the Royal Australian Navy recently extended our contract by a further 3 years in recognition of our successful delivery of the heavy fuel engine S-100, also known as the S2. The new contract included additional systems, engineering and logistics support. The contract also changed focus, moving away from a testing and learning phase to an interim capability. This change in focus has seen SPL integrating the S-100 into several warships and creating a full dance card for the remainder of 2022. The Royal Australian Navy has also invested heavily in SPL and the S-100 capability, with the funded creation of local training for both Navy maintainers and Navy remote pilot warfare officers. This investment from Navy has enabled SPL to establish a true sovereign capability through a transfer of knowledge, resulting in customised delivery of training to the Royal Australian Navy. This joint investment of training to the Royal Australian Navy has positioned SPL very well for the soon-to-be-released restricted RFT for C129 Phase 5. SPL has partnered with Raytheon Australia and many local SMEs to ensure that we can offer the very best solution for the Navy's maritime UAS requirements. SPL is also working with several other civilian partners to develop the commercial capability of the S-100. 2022 will see the S-100 working with a major energy company in Western Australia, providing a range of capabilities through stores delivery, maritime environmental assessments, search and rescue, and maintenance inspections. As Schiebel Pacific spreads its wings here in Australia, the next several years will be very busy, and all of us at SPL are looking forward to the challenges. Thank you for your time, and from all of us here at Schiebel Pacific, we wish you all the best for 2022. Back to you, Anna.
Thank you, Andrew, for the update from Schiebel Pacific. It's good to follow the growth in Australia. In the background, you can see Stefan Gamse, our project manager for the European Maritime Safety Agency. So let's go over and see if he has time for a quick chat. Hi, Stefan.
Hi, Anna.
Sorry for disturbing.
No problem.
We are quite proud of being the AV of choice for so many EMSA operations across Europe. Could you please tell the webinar audience about the service provision for EMSA and the latest news?
Of course, happy to do that. As I said, we are very proud of being part of this framework contract, helping the member states and different entities to complementary their existing assets by doing Coast Guard functions. We are started back in 2019. We had there just one deployment ongoing, and we were able to double from year to year the numbers of deployments. So in 2020 we had 2 deployments, 2021 already 4 parallel deployments.
Where did these deployments last year take place?
It was in Spain, in Romania, Estonia and Finland. Also we have now roughly 2,500 flight hours obtained during this period, and we were also able to extend our portfolio, what we initially offered to EMSA. As an example, we added the S2 engine to the deployment in Spain. We extended the range with the antenna to 200 kilometers, and also we extended the maximum flight time with the external fuel tank. So we are really pushing to the limits and making the customer happy. Normally we are doing search and rescue and maritime surveillance task for the customers. We have a special payload setup there. In the back we have some antennas. A Mode S transponder is equipped, the AAS receiver, so we are receiving the signals from the ship, and also a BD406, which is an emergency beacon detector. So whenever there is a distress signal, we will receive it, and it is indicated as a point of interest on the map, and we can then go there and doing search and rescue. In the nose payload bay, we have installed the PT-8. That's a really good asset in combination with the MX-10, because it automatically detects potential point of interest, and that increases the surveillance task by a factor of 10. And with the MX-10, then you can just put with the mouse to that point and verify if it's a vessel and human or whatever.
And that is mounted in the main payload bay.
Correct, that's true, yeah. We're also proud of being a look holder since 2021.
What does look mean, so for the audience?
This is to self-authorize your operation. So it's really streamlining the processes all over Europe. So the different civil aviation authorities are getting also used to it. So we are really looking forward of having here an easier access to all the permit to fly, what's necessary to fly there.
Well, yeah. Thank you, Stefan, for that impressive record and also explaining the configuration to us.
You're welcome. Thank you as well.
So, considering the advanced time, I think it is time now to prepare for our Q&A round. And I hope I've been able to give you some interesting insights into our everyday life here at Schiebel, and also to show you some people that are standing behind the product. And one more thing, it seems like there will be exhibitions and trade fairs coming up this year, and thus the possibility to get together in real life, talk to each other and exchange news. So if you've got the taste for it now and would like to meet our experts face to face, there are several opportunities coming up. But Neil Hunter, our Global Head of Business Development, certainly knows more about that. So over to you, Neil.
Thank you very much, Anna. As has been the case for everyone over the last 2 years, travel, as we know, has proved extremely difficult for everyone. As such, Schiebel has not been able to attend many events. Indeed, many of them have been cancelled, sadly. Slowly but surely, though, the world does seem to be opening up, and 2022 does look to be a much more promising prospect for Schiebel and indeed for everybody. Fingers crossed for us all. However, to emphasize that we're not actually out of the woods yet, our first exhibition here in 2022 in Japan, sadly, we will not be there, even though we plan to be, and that's purely down to COVID restrictions in the country. This means then that our first exhibition this year will be at UMEX in the Middle East. If it is anything like the Dubai Air Show, where we had a large stand last November, it should be a very successful event, and we're very much looking forward to it. After that, it's the Singapore Air Show. We won't have a stand at the air show this year. However, our Asian sales director, David Peel, will be there walking around. So if anybody would like a meeting with him, then please don't hesitate to set one up. Following on from that, we'll then head to India. So there's a large exhibition called Def Expo in March, and we'll be attending that with our partner, VEM Technologies, as we see the Indian market as a real focus for us in the coming years. We'll stay in that part of the world in March for an exhibition called Defence Services Asia in Malaysia, where we will take a booth with our partner 3Ts. And then we'll jump across to the other side of the world and to the United States for a conference called Sea Airspace by Navy Leagues, which happens over there in April. We'll then literally jump to the other side of the world, and in May, we will attend what is called Indo-Pacific International Maritime Exposition. That'll be handled and run by our Schiebel company, Schiebel Pacific, based out of Nowra, just south of Sydney. And they will be running that on the behalf of the Schiebel Group. The next time you'll see Schiebel will be in Indonesia. We'll be there in Tunisia in May, and we'll be attending the International Aerospace and Defence Exhibition. As it stands, it's probably going to be our only attendance in Africa this year. So for all of those who get a chance from that continent, please go and find us if you can. We should have attended SOFIC, which is a very large special forces exhibition in Tampa in America in May, but we've actually made the decision to give that a miss this year, primarily because of COVID, price, and the complexities. But for those of you, our friends in America, I can guarantee you that we'll be back there very soon. However, we will be in North America at that time of the year. There's an exhibition called CAMSEC in June. We'll be attending that with our Canadian partner, MDA. And there's very much a focus on the Canadian market this year, as the Canadian Armed Forces will deliver their large tender called RCN ISTAR, looking at rotary UAVs for the Navy, which we're very much plan on bidding on. We'll then jump back into Europe, and we'll attend what is one of the largest European air shows. It's Farnborough this year. We haven't been there for 4 years, but we will have a big booth, and we're very much looking forward to being back at that air show. As we head past the summer, our next event will be in Poland I think it's in September, and it's called MSPO. But the importance of Poland for us is that we're part of a tender there for the Polish Navy, and we're looking to meet companies and work out how we enhance our sort of position and presence in the country of Poland. Then back down to Australia, there's a very large exhibition called Land Forces. Again, that'll be run by our Schiebel company, Schiebel Pacific. And then back into Europe for the last couple of events of the year. Euronaval is happening this year in October. We'll have a good presence there as usual. And then finally in November, we're planning to drop down into Greece for an exhibition called Maritime Air Systems called MAST. The Greeks are very much looking at rotary UAVs, and we're putting a lot of attention into that country, as you would expect. So that gives you a summary of what we plan to get up to this year, 2022. I hope that we'll be able to go to all of those exhibitions. Please come and say hello. Please come and find us. Please come and discuss your requirements. Please ask us about our S-100 rotary UAV, and we'll be delighted to answer your questions. So that's it. That's the webinar mostly over, but we're now going to finish with a Q&A session. So we're ready to go on that. Very much looking forward to receiving all your questions, and I can assure you we'll give you very honest answers to every one of your questions. Thank you.
Good morning and a good afternoon. My name is Michael Schiller. I'm the head of program management. Before I introduce my colleagues that will be hosting this Q&A with me tonight, I will just a small reminder, if you have any questions, just post them into the Q&A function here within Zoom. I'm live watching all of your questions, and we will try to answer as many as we can. So let's start introducing my colleagues. With me today is Gretchen West. She's our CEO of Schiebel Aircraft Incorporation in the United States of America. Then Neil Hunter, our global head of business development, and I also have with us today Nikki Weiss, who is our sales director for Latin America. Do you guys want to say something, or should we start already with the Q&A?
Let's go for it, Michael. There's some good questions out there.
Yeah, I see them as well. So let's start with some easy ones so that we get a few of them on the table as soon as we can. So what is the difference between an S1 and an S2 engine?
Maybe I answer this one. We have two different kind of gasoline engines in our helicopter. So the S1 engine is using the FGAS 100 low lead, and the S2 engine is using GP5. So for maritime operation, there was the requirement, a demand to have a GP5 gasoline on the vessels due to safety reasons. So Schiebel decided to develop the S2 engine, which is quite similar to the S1 engine. It has a little bit bigger combustion area, but from the power point of view, it's still the same average as the S1, has the same capability as the S1 configuration. So nothing really changes between the two different types of helicopters.
Yeah, and just to add to that, actually, I mean, some people will say, why'd you bother having two totally different engines? But actually, we've recognized over the last 10 years or so that the importance of being able to have heavy fuel for our maritime customers, whether that's military or civilian, is extremely important, because less and less people are prepared to take petrol avgas to sea. So we're very proud that we've been able to build this heavy fuel S2 engine in-house ourselves, and it's out there on the market today. You might have picked up there from Andrew Watson down in Australia that the Australian Navy use the S2 heavy fuel. And you heard earlier about EMSA, the European Maritime Safety Agency. One of our deployments for there is actually using the heavy fuel engine. So it's very much a product that's on the market today, and anybody can have it.
Thank you very much. Next question is about how long does the training take? What's the procedure behind the pilot's training? And also connected to a second question, what is the requirement for a pilot, meaning which licenses are necessary to become a pilot of the S-100?
If you do the spec bit, I'll do the more general bit.
Talking with me? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in general, before when we invite our customers to come to Austria for a pilot training, what we do is we do a customer test before to see how far along are they with certain knowledge. Standard things like English, like technical understanding, etc., will be part of this evaluation that we do with the customers. Other than that, there are certain requirements that you would expect, like above 18 years old and so on and so forth there. So what we do is we bring them over to Austria, we train them on the S-100 system. And now I believe Neil wants to take over the airworthiness part of that story.
No, yeah, I was probably just going to add that I think of everybody out there in the world operating drones, RPAS, UAVs, whatever you want to call them. You don't actually need to be aviators to operate them safely and efficiently. But I think we would argue that if you bring some aviation knowledge to the table, it does help, whether that's in sort of principles of flight or weather, etc. But no, you do not need to be an operator. Our standard courses for operators and maintainers are 8 weeks. We can flex that depending on the sort of people that need the training, whether I say they're ex-aviators or some who've never been near a drone before, so we can allow for that. And our methodology is very much about teaching you, the customer, sort of what I'd call basic training, basic operation and basic maintenance to safely operate the kit. But obviously we recognize that over time, the customer should be able to train its own people. So we have a number of advanced training courses, both on the payload side, operator side, and the maintenance side, that brings people up to instructor level so that those customers can go back and train themselves, but obviously with our long-term support in the background. So it's a very flexible system that we use to train people. What did I miss, Michael?
Thank you. The next question would be about what's our focus in the United States?
I'll take that one. So we've been really focused, kind of like Schiebel has done across the world. We've been focusing on the military. We've worked very closely with the Navy. We've got a partner that we're working to integrate a new sensor onto the S-100. We've conducted a demo for the Navy, and we've got more planned for this year. But we've also been looking at the Army. We look at different bids that come in. For those of you that are on the call, we're always kind of interested in talking about potential partnerships to see where we can grow together in the United States market from a defense perspective. And then the other side of it is kind of the commercial market. We've had quite a bit of interest in operating the S-100 commercially in several different industries. Now that takes there's some other challenges from a regulatory perspective that we need to address, but it's certainly a positive market here in the United States, and we're looking to continue to grow.
Thank you very much. The next question is a short one and a quick one. Is there more information about capabilities and technical specifications? Sure, there is. Please go to our homepage, schiebel.net. You will be able to find there all of our brochures with more information. And if there's any more that you need any more questions that you have, please write us an email. You will, at the end of this webinar, see all of our email addresses, as well as you can always write all of your questions to info@schiebel.net.
Yeah, it's probably worth adding there that our website is very comprehensive, from a great deal of technical information, but also videos, a lot of videos of the CAMCOPTER flying at sea, at land, various different parts of the world. So if you haven't already, please go and have a look at our website.
That's actually a nice hint to the next question. It is about how many navies is the CAMCOPTER in service with? So
I saw that question come in actually. So I did a quick tally. And if we start in the east, obviously we work with the Australian Navy. You heard all about that with Andrew Watson. I can't obviously disclose sort of the names of the customers, but some of you might work out who they are anyway. But as it stands today, we have 3 customers in Asia. I worked out we have 4 in Middle East. We have 1 currently in Europe, which is the French Navy, but we've also demonstrated trialed exercise with 12 additional navies around the world. And that ranges from the Canadians, the Americans, the Brazilians, through into Europe with the likes of the Greeks, a number of the Scandinavians, Belgium, Spanish, Italians. So quite a lot, actually.
Yeah. And to add a little bit of that, we have been flying from roughly, so it's more than 30 ships that we have been flying from. So that hopefully gives you an idea. And like Neil already said, you will find a lot of videos on our homepage, so you can see yourself. It's not something that we just say. You can really see all of that in the videos that we show on our homepage. There are a lot of questions in connections to ships, and so let's jump into that directly. What is the CAMCOPTER experience in launch and landing on ships? So I believe, like I said, we have more than 30 ships that we are regularly flying from. There have been some for demonstrations. I believe the overall number of flight hours is something around 30. I don't know, I'm not quite sure about that, but I believe it was something about 30,000.
Yeah, and we've certainly we've passed 2,000 deck landings, haven't we?
Right. So yes, we have a lot of experiences, and the experience are ranging from the smallest ship stacks. You will see on the pictures, on the videos, I believe the smallest one that we have been flying from was a Spanish vessel from Spanish Coast Guard, and biggest ones that we fly from are helicarriers and everything in between. Does the CAMCOPTER, I believe, that's a connected question with, does the CAMCOPTER have experience to automatic launch and landings offshore? Well,
yeah, the answer is yes. And Michael's already given you a lot of the examples of where that's happened. So the CAMCOPTER can either be operated manually, but not with 100% authority, because it's obviously computer controlled, but with a large percentage of authority, or it can be operated automatically, including launch and recovery, and that includes at sea. You'll always see what we call a safety pilot on the back end of the ship on the flight deck, but often he's just there as a safety rather than actually flying the aircraft itself. We also recognize that in the rougher seas on the smaller decks, that safety is absolutely everything. So we have worked with a system called Deck Finder, which Airbus Germany developed, and we've worked with that. And in fact, we should be trialing that with the Royal Australian Navy soon. And the purpose of that is to enhance the safety of the system at sea. We're not suggesting that Deck Finder is the only one out there, but it's certainly one that we've been able to work with so far. And if you then take that into the civil/commercial sector, we've done some work in Scandinavia, flying off oil rigs from land to oil rigs and back again. We've done it at quite a straightforward level so far, but with this year, we'll go to the next level, where we'll probably use the Deck Finder to do automatic landings without people on the oil rig. Someone will be there as safety again, but actually it'll be an automatic landing and then takeoff. So we see applications not just at sea, but obviously in the likes of oil rigs and platforms as well.
That's actually answer to another question about the limits in terms of takeoff and landings from ship deck. So what we are doing is also, when we are going on a ship, or when a customer wants to integrate our system into one of his ships, or what we are doing is we do a special analysis of the ship visit, where we can then define the limits for that specific ship. As you are aware of, not every ship is the same, so it's not like you can set one kind of rules and that is happening to all of the ships. It's really depending on the ship type, the size of the ship, and most depending on the ship's deck. And also, like Neil already mentioned a few times, most of the navies that I deal with personally, they have a requirement for somebody standing there on board for a safety reason to be able to stop the landing, mainly for the aircraft to go into a holding position until the deck can be, any obstacle on the deck can be removed again. So, but this is all depending on the ship, and we do this specifically for each of the ships.
I'd just add the point there that every ship is different. Every ship has different characteristics. And so we take each integration onto a ship individually and seriously, and we do full what we call shoal ship helicopter operating limits, a bit like you do in the manned world. It's a bit more straightforward in our man because there's no guy sitting in it who needs to see the deck. But again, we during the testing phase, we make sure that the CAMCOPTER can land in accordance with the limits that we give it.
Yeah. The two other questions were about installation on the ship, especially when it comes to the antenna, cables, and wires. So connected to what I just said, we do a ship inspection where we then define our limits. What else we do on that is we propose the possible situations for our antennas to give the ship the best optimum covering ranges. What we can only do is we can only suggest positions. Obviously, it's then on the owner of the ship to decide if that what we suggested is working, yes or no. But we will always find, or until now, we always found a perfect solution for the customer. What we then do is with cables and wires, this will all be supported and provided by us. So we are taking care of the ship installation when it comes to that one.
And then just to add, again, really depends on the customer requirement, but we can very easily give 360 degrees worth of coverage around the ship. And the way we do that is ideally we would put our single antenna somewhere like the top of the mast, but as everyone who knows who's involved in the maritime world, you very rarely get space high up on the mast. So the other way we can achieve it is either to put an antenna port and starboard or even one forward and aft. And that's how we achieve full 360 degree coverage out as far as 200 kilometers if you really needed that. But generally, people are looking at the sort of what we call the 34-inch antenna, which takes us out to about 100, well, takes us over 100 clicks actually.
More statements than a question, but still, Nikki, maybe you can answer that already. The question is, are we at LAT in May 2023 in Brazil?
Yes, that's our plan to be there next year. So hopefully everything gets now settled with the COVID, and then we will be there definitely. Myself, I will be in on the FIDE in Chile this April. So if somebody is there, please contact me and we can meet there if you are available. It would be a pleasure for me. So yes, we will be on LAT, most probably.
Thank you. One question about spare parts and test equipment for maintenance. So what about, I believe this is, do we support that? So what, when you buy our equipment, when you invest into the S-100 system, what you will get from us is more or less everything that you need, starting from the tools, starting from a screwdriver, going into every of the support equipment necessary, and obviously also including spare parts and all of the boxes to either store it on a ship or store it on land. So this is our philosophy, is always to provide the customer everything, whatever is necessary, to really start with an empty hangar where you put everything in, or and then start flight operation directly out of that. So next question, what about jamming and cyber attacks? Who wants to answer that one?
Yeah, I'll start. I mean, the first thing is our data link is encrypted. So obviously it's quite a robust system, and so it's not easily hacked, as they say. Also, back in the company Schiebel, we put a lot of time, money, and resources into having a very robust, secure IT system across the Schiebel group, which is obviously part of the whole solution. I think when it comes to the aircraft itself or the system flying, because of one particular operation that we have done in Europe over the last few years, we've had to work out pretty quickly how we can well, we integrated an anti-jammer actually, so to give us an extra capability, and that's from a third-party OEM, which is available on the market. So that's available to everybody. And also because if your GPS jammed, actually then you effectively fall back onto your INS, your inertial navigation system. And so our engineers put a lot of hours into the work to make sure that if we lost GPS, that the aircraft could still fly safely. I mean, predominantly it comes back. So you wouldn't carry on your operation if you lose the GPS. But again, it's an example of how we've had to adapt, and we've literally, through the life of the S-100 the last 15 years, we continually adapted and changed and updated and upgraded the system. And GPS, being able to fly in a GPS denied environment is a good example of that. And one of the things we're now looking at, and we're testing 2 different suppliers, is the use of SATCOM for command and control and the transfer of data. That's not on the market yet, but it will be, and because we recognize the importance of SATCOM as well as using data links.
Mm-hmm. The next question is about integration into a CMS combat management system on a ship, or is it a standalone system? Well, actually, on all of our customers, Navy customers, we have integrated our system into a combat management system. So our system is delivering the data to feed into those systems. So yes, this is possible.
I mean, it's a must. It's a must, otherwise it sits as a standalone capability that's not properly integrated. So we definitely have challenges because different navies, different ships have different command systems. We often have to work with a third party at a sort of an interface box, but most definitely it's always our aim to get the product, the information, the data that's coming down from the aircraft in this scenario into a ship's operations room or command center.
Mm-hmm. Next question is about how do we perceive the commercial use of the CAMCOPTER versus type rating with EASA and global airworthiness authorities?
Why don't we give one of these to Nikki or to Gretchen? Yeah.
I mean, I can start with this one from a U.S. perspective, and you know, as I mentioned before, flying commercially here in the United States, we would need to kind of get through some of those regulatory hurdles, such as having an experimental type certification or type certification. You know, that's typically a fairly long process to go through. But I'll let somebody else kind of talk about the European, the EASA side of it, because Schiebel has received a light unmanned certificate from EASA. So from a US perspective, for us to go down the path to look towards type certification, we can kind of piggyback off the work that's been done with EASA, with FAA and EASA working together to kind of push us through the type certification process here. So we know it's a requirement for an aircraft of our size, and it's something that, you know, we have to achieve to be able to operate commercially. Luckily, we've talked to a lot of the commercial partners that we've talked to that are interested in our system, have a lot of the data, have a lot of interest in kind of walking through this process with us. But it is certainly something, and it, you know, differs for, you know, globally. Airworthiness is generally fairly consistent, but kind of the rules and regulations varies a little bit. So I'll let somebody else talk about what we've achieved with EASA in Europe.
Yeah, I'll take over from you there, Gretchen. Thank you. We're a European company, obviously, so we have worked from day one. We've worked closely with the EASA. So inside Austria, obviously, our direct first link is with Austro Control, who then obviously talk to EASA, and as you say, Gretchen, EASA and the FAA swap notes and talk quite a lot. So from day one, we've worked closely with the EASA to make sure that the S-100 that we're building and continually developing will become certified one day. And within the company, we have a large program called the Capability Upgrade Program. And very much part of that is to create a certifiable S-100 to fly in what we would call non-segregated airspace. And we've very much already started that journey. And one good example is a customer in Europe has actually contracted us to take the S-100, shall we say, out of the experimental box and put it into the limited operational certification box. And we're well down the route to achieving that. So, you know, today there are very few UAS that are actually fully certified, but because we have such good pedigree, because we've got so many flying hours over the last 15 years or something, then we're in a very good place to be at the front of this certification process in EASA, well, in Europe, should I say. and then hopefully that'll flow across to the FAA in America. But I think just to finish and add to your point, Gretchen, lots of countries see this differently, and it's never black and white with everywhere. So we have to adapt. But the key thing we're able to do is to always provide the evidence of over 100,000 flying hours, which of course includes crashes, as we've gone through, as we've learned and we've made mistakes. And you have to prove that you've learned from your mistakes, and we're able to give that data and that evidence. So I think as a company and a product, we're in a very good place as we head into the, shall we say, the next stage. Did I miss anything, Nikki?
I think that's right. That's correct. So we are doing it quite a long time already with EASA, and we are learning, both are learning from each other. So it's a quite good success at the moment. I think so.
Yeah. Do you know, it's a very good point, isn't it? So it's not just the EASA telling us, it's actually us working with the EASA, because we're able to give them our experiences for them to learn from, is probably the wrong word, but certainly develop their doctrines, I suppose, is a way of looking at it, isn't it?
Nikki, I believe the next one is for you, or you can answer that perfectly. Does Schiebel provide the payload, or shall those be delivered to Schiebel by the customer?
Depends on. So usually we do fit the payloads to the aircraft. We integrate it. We make the mechanical integration. We do the software integration. So usually we are providing the payloads. But if a customer wants to deliver its payload and we have to integrate it, we are ready to do that as well. So there are both ways possible. So no problem on that.
The only thing that I have to add to that, obviously, is that as long as we can fit it into when it comes to size and power consumption. Other than that,
fully correct, Michael. Thank you very much for adding that. So it must be in weight, size, and the other ranges, as you know, and then we are happy to make the integration.
But while we're on that point, though, I think it is important to emphasize to everybody who's listening is, the CAMCOPTER is not sort of a one-show pony, as they say. We can actually integrate a number of different payloads at the same time and get airborne and still achieve 6 hours endurance. So, for an example, I mean, we've been traditionally a electro-optical infrared sort of capability, seen in that what they call the ISR, the intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance market. And that has been our sort of bread and butter. But actually, as requirements have changed, we've had to change as well. And one good example is we've integrated a number of different radars into one particular radar we've integrated into the belly of the S-100. But because a radar is no good on its own, we were able to put a small EOIR in the nose. So now you've got a maritime radar in the belly, which will obviously do the initial investigation of contacts of interest. And then you cross Q to your EOIR and you're able to go to a higher level of identification. Then in parallel, inside the aircraft, you'd be able, we carry AIS, we can carry a full IFF suite if need be, or we can actually put ADSB, for those who know, which is very much used in the commercial world. So we can be seen by others. I haven't mentioned the side payloads. So obviously there's going to be a limitation because our maximum payload capacity is 50 kilograms, but that can be spread around the whole helicopter, which I think is a really important point. And we've proved all this, and we're delivering that today.
Thank you. A very short question with a nice and sweet answer. Any ITAR limitations for the product as of now? The answer is no. We are ITAR free when it comes to the product.
We are ITAR free, most definitely, but we have added on ITAR payloads for customers. So some people say, well, you can't say you're ITAR free. We 100% can be if need be, but we also, because of as I talked about the security, the IT of Schiebel earlier, we actually have been accredited by North America to be able to integrate ITAR products from that part of the world.
Sure. Gretchen, I see you're writing an answer. Do you want to speak about that directly? Oh, you already did. Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, the question was whether or not we've worked with the U.S. government on some of their FMS program. And the short answer is yes, we have some experience with that. And that is certainly a possibility that we have explored and will continue to.
Thank you. I believe we have little bit of time left for a few more questions. Neil, do you want to speak a little bit about manned-unmanned teaming?
Yeah, I'll say a few words. I'm a firm believer that the future will be manned-unmanned teaming will be very much part of the future, whether that's in the military or the commercial stroke civil domain. For those of you who don't know, we actually worked with Airbus Germany 2019, I think, someone correct me, 2019, where we put a full S-100 GCS inside a H-145 helicopter, and we were able to conduct full manned-unmanned teaming, which basically meant launching and recovering the S-100 from the ground, in other words, controlled from the helicopter. We took it to a simulated up threat. We found a target of interest, we filmed it, and then we brought the S-100 and landed it back on. So we've been able to prove what they call level 5 manned-unmanned teaming. And so if you look at the market today, people aren't actually doing it, but they're starting to talk about it more and more. Again, I think the likes of the Australians, we know over in America there that a lot of companies are working on this. So we very much see that as part of our future. And then just to finish on the civil commercial side, for those of you who don't know, we have a contract with Bristow, and Bristow operate the whole search and rescue around the United Kingdom. And it's a very good example of how manned-unmanned teaming will start to come together. So rather than sending what they call an S-92 large manned helicopter out to do a long, boring search for something, which costs, I don't know, 15, 20,000 euros an hour, why not send an S-100 at a sort of 20th, 30th of the price to do that initial search, get the information back into the S-92 and launch him to do the bit that's really needed, which is the rescue. So it's a big subject, and I think you'll see it definitely growing in the future, in my opinion.
So I believe we have time for one more question, and I believe a good one to close this is there any update on the S-300?
Who's going first?
I mean, you already started.
Maybe you, Neil.
The answer is yes, depending on what you know and you don't know. I mean, we've obviously very much focused on our S-100 over the last 15 years, and we're firm believers that particular product does fill a lot of what I would call capability gaps. But we also recognize that it's not the answer to everything, especially when it comes to endurance and when it comes to payload. So we put a lot of time and energy into this subject, working out what should happen and what should come next. And so, yes, we do now have a completed design for what we're calling the S-300. That S-300 will come in at I think somewhere between 600 and 700 kilograms maximum takeoff weight. But the important thing there is that something like, I could probably get my facts slightly wrong, but I believe we're looking at 250 kilograms as a maximum payload capacity. So that's a big difference and a big step up from the S-100. And again, you could say, why are we doing this? I think predominantly, we obviously want to add additional payload. If you look at the military domain, yes, something like an iMaster or PicoSAR are good radars, but they're synthetic aperture radars. But it appears that customers are much more looking at what I'd call traditional rotating radars. And in Europe, you've got examples like Gabbiano, and I forget the other one, Osprey, are two good examples. But and they're much bigger, they're much heavier. So we recognize the need to add capability. Again, in the military area, if you look at subjects like anti-submarine warfare, we're going to run out of time, but there's a lot of countries building a lot of submarines out there, and we know that if we can deliver anti-submarine warfare to either the S-100 in a small scale, or the S-300 in a much larger scale, we've got something special. And so there are lots of reasons for this. Where do we stand with the S-300? We plan to fly this year, initial testing. I think it would be wrong to say when is it going to come on the market, because that would, I think we have some work to do, but I think you'll probably see it over the next couple of years if everything goes to plan. And one of the key advantages is we're not starting from zero. So we're effectively taking the S-100 and, shall we say, making it bigger. We have a new engine, we have a heavy fuel engine, we have a new rotor head, we have a 3-bladed system for the rotor head, we have new gearbox, all these aspects are in place. But of course, we'll be using the same software, the same ground elements. So it's really only the aircraft that's going to change, and it's a grown up of the S-100, I suppose. So yeah, a lot of exciting work is happening in this area.
And just to emphasize this a little bit, so what our plan is with the S-300 system is the customer comes in with an S-100, flies a cargo delivering mission, for example, with our cargo delivering hood from one place to the next. And then while he's flying with that one, or when he's returning, he's just switching more or less the aircraft to an S-300 and does another mission to another capability with another need for another capability with the S-300 before he switches back to the S-100 with the same training, the same control station, and the same everything. So it will be really giving the customer possibility to extend the range of capabilities that he can use on the spot when needed.
And I think, Gretchen, in America, there's a lot of interest in a larger rotary, isn't there?
Yes, very much so. And also the cargo carrying capability, as Michael just mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. I believe that was it for us. Neil, want to close the webinar?
No, I'd just like to say thank you very much. We've had nearly 100 attendants for this, our second webinar. The first one we did last year was very much sort of capability focused. So we obviously wanted to do something a bit different this time. So I hope you all found it interesting. We are planning a third webinar, but we're not going to tell you exactly what that is yet. But I hope you found today interesting. I hope it was the value of you all. And if you see us at the shows in 2022, please come and say hello. Please tell us about your requirements, as I said earlier. And yeah, see where we go. Michael?
Great, Yannicki, do you want to add something before I close it?
Just thank you everyone for being here, and we appreciate the interaction with the questions. That was great.
Yes, also thank you very much for joining our webinar, and hope I see you on the exhibition somewhere in the this year. Hope so. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And before I close it, just one reminder to everybody. So if you have any additional questions or if you need any more information, please go to our webpage, schiebel.net, or send us an email via our info@schiebel.net email address. Also, the webinar will be posted on YouTube and Vimeo shortly after this webinar today. So you will see that. You can also contact us on our Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram accounts as well. So thank you very much for your participation. Thanks for all of the questions. And if there are additional questions that we have, we will try to answer them afterwards. So you will see them and you will get feedback about that one. Other than that, thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.